Hello everybody. So an update just dropped, the Tough Break update, and this one looks similar to Gunmetal, skins, taunts, gameplay changes. Ooh. So I'm gonna go through this from a perspective of a Highlander player. So I play TF2 High and UGC Platinum as an engineer. So you know that I'm a true TF2 nerd. So I'm just gonna go over this and basically just talk about what it changes about the game and how it affects a Highlander player. And if you play Highlander, then maybe you'll like this update because there are quite a few nice changes. Okay, so let's just have a look at some stuff. Skins, ooh, rainbow stuff, that's cool. Crates, not surprised. Vanguard, really? I don't like that map. High Pass, yeah, it's good. Landfall, ooh, I like that map. Taunts, ooh, Man Robotics, totally gonna get that. Bagpipe, bad pipes. Ooh, can't wait to fucking Scotsman skull cutter some snipers and do that on their corpse. It's gonna be great. And Bucking Bronco, engineer just needs more taunts. Nice. Okay, changes. All base weapon switch speed changed from 0.67 seconds to 0.5 seconds. So everyone switches weapons faster. Nice. Upon spawning, friendly players will show an outline for 10 seconds. What? So is that to show where friendly teammates are? So does that mean if you spawn, you can't get spawn camped by spies as much because you're gonna spawn and be like, shit, that guy hasn't got an outline. Okay, that might probably be it, and so that if you're playing medic, you know where your teammates are when they respawn. That's pretty cool. Updated various weapon descriptions to better detail their functionality. Nice, that's always good to have. Multiclass. Panic attack. Ooh, this is what we want to know about, boys. The panic attack. No longer auto fires when fully loaded. Shots can be held and released at will. Finally! Okay, so this means that when you load up your fucking shots of the panic attack, I think it was 4 shots, and it immediately fired as soon as you loaded that 4th shot. You had to load it and then commit to shooting it. But now it means you can just load up the 4 shots, come around the corner and just unload on someone, which is great. It's still probably not that good of a weapon, but it gives you more control of it, and I'm definitely going to use it more. I kind of like using this weapon in circumstances where I'm going to die. Panic attack, I think I've found a niche in Highlander, and it's where you're going to go to sack for a medic or a sniper, and you know you're going to die in a split second. So say you're on a fence as an engineer, you've built up all your buildings, you've pretty much got nothing really to do, besides maintain your buildings. Once you have all those buildings up, you've got a level 3 telly, level 3 dispenser, you've got a mini that isn't going down, you're pretty much just sat there just twiddling your thumbs because you're being effective with those buildings up. So now you can kind of just poke the flank and get kills. So you've both got full charge, you want to force the med, you load up your fucking panic attack, you go around the corner, and then as you land your first shot, you get shot by everybody on the flank. Everyone on the combo. Well, everyone in general, they just see an engineer and fuck you up. So you have 1 second to do damage to him. So with a panic attack, you just come around the corner, you get hit, and you're you just kill them. I've had one moment where I've dropped a medic doing that, but then I've also had 50 other moments where I've done nothing. So take that as you will. You could do that in lobbies. I recommend you do it in lobbies because you can just mess with the low communication environment. But I wouldn't recommend using it as a permanent strat, but it might be better to use now. Reserve Shooter no longer boosts all around switch speed, instead boosts switch to speed by 20% and switch from speed by 15%. So that's kind of a buff, because it's switch to 20%, and I'm pretty sure it was already 15%. No longer mini crits any airborne target are you jumping. Target must be forced into the air via blast, jump, knockback, air blast, or grapple. Okay. Didn't they already patch that though? No, they didn't. Okay. Oh, that was ground stall that they patched. Oh yeah. Okay. So this basically just means that you can't just get mini crit from across the map by a pyro spamming. It's still going to be arguably OP, because, okay, if you don't know about this, Reserve Shooter is arguably OP. In the terms of general game balance, it isn't overpowered, but it's a really annoying weapon to deal with, because it's essentially a combination of the flare gun and the shotgun. When you can use Reserve Shooter, there's no sense using any of the other ones, which is why it's like arguably overpowered. Because you have the shotgun, which just does generally like consistent strong damage, and you can use it to like clear stickies because you've got bullet damage and such. And you can also like hit bicycle spires and whatever. I generally prefer shotgun on pyro because you have more damage and more like utility. But then you have flare gun, which has the burst, which you can use to kill light classes. Because you get a lot of pyros who are, you can tell when they're a pyromate, because as soon as they engage in a fight, they set on fire, air blast, and then pull out like their flare gun. And you're like, okay, yeah, he's a pyro player. Because that's like probably the best strat to do in pubs, because you can just do loads of like free crits. But then when they do that, they're also missing out on DPS, because if they just have their flamethrower out, they'll end up doing more damage anyway. But pyro rand. Anyway, basically, reserve shooter gives you the same burst. In fact, it gives you more damage because you can fire multiple like mini crit shots, and it still has like the strength of a shotgun. So in its current state, reserve shooter is the flare gun and the shotgun combined together. So one thing that I actually have a mindset for these kind of things is, I used to, whenever I saw an OP weapon like reserve shooter, beggar's bazooka, loose cannon, those kinds of things, I just wouldn't use them because they're cheap. But now I've got the mindset of I should use them, because from what I can see, the people who balance TF2 probably don't play the game that much because it took so long for them to make these changes, or maybe they're just lower on staff. I'm going to give Valve credit and say that they're lower on staff. But basically, like, if a person who was like balancing TF2 were to play the game, they wouldn't notice the reserve shooter's overpowered because people wouldn't be using it because it's cheap. If you want them to notice it's overpowered, abuse the shit out of it. Use the reserve shooter so much that every other person being killed by it is like, I fucking hate that guy, I'm going to use reserve shooter and kill him. And then everyone else is complaining for you. You've got a whole server complaining about the weapon instead of you just complaining about it. So if you just abuse it as much as possible, it'll get patched. I don't recommend doing that with actual game exploits, because that's really being a dick, but if it's an actual weapon in the game that's been like this forever, just abuse that as much as possible. I recommend it because I don't want to have to deal with this weapon anymore. The half Zatoichi, Zatuwiki? I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm pretty sure it's Japanese, so it's like syllables. But anyway, now considered a sword. Increased holster and deploy time and increased range. Really? They had to give it range? Okay, I'm going to see these other things. Honor Bound has changed. Deals 50 self damage on holster if no kill was made. Cannot be holstered if the player is below 50 life and no kill was made. So they made it so you can't, so you can actually switch weapon with it now instead of being stuck on it, but it costs health. I believe that's from where samurais, when they were drawing their sword, they have their like thumb up against the actual sheath, so as they draw their sword, they draw blood, and that's kind of like a ceremonial thing, I guess. Not sure what that's to mean, but I guess that's how they're balancing it. It's nice to see that attention to detail there. 100% life restore on kill changed to 50% health gain on kill that can result in overheal. Okay, so they made it so you don't get insta health whenever you like kill someone, but if you are already full health you can get overheal, which is a nice change. So they basically just made it so you can't like run around getting insta health, killing people, just like, because one of the loadouts I quite like using in pubs is Zatoichi, Booties, and Tide Turner, because you can charge in, get a kill, then reset your health and reset the charge and just keep chaining kills constantly, because there's always that one potato that you can get all your like resets back. It's basically like playing Katarina in League of Legends, except a little bit more skillful. And no random crits. Finally, that thing crits so goddamn much. Okay, let's go on to Scoot. Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol. This was previously really crap from the change. Increased health recovered on hit from +3 to +5. Okay, so it's still kind of like a Bloodsaga, but I'll need to test this, but it doesn't look like it would be that useful. Yeah, because you're going to heal maybe like 40 or 50 health from a clip, but in that time they would have taken the more away, but I guess that depends on your dodging. I'd still prefer using Milk. Milk is really good on Scout. It's probably the best secondary. Mad Milk. Extinguishing an ally will now reduce the cooldown by 20%. Thank you! Oh my god, that's so cool! So now, if you actually like help your teammate, you get your thing back. I wonder if they did that with Giovanni as well. That's really good. That's like a good way of encouraging putting it out. Because I always try and throw it on teammates, but at the same time, if I use it on a teammate, then some guy would come around the corner and I can't milk them. So like, that'll make me like, yeah, that'll probably make other people want to use milk to like help out their team. They'll like a lot of people might not actually play the game from a team play and just play it on like a solo standpoint. So they'll see that on like the weapon going, oh yeah, it comes off cooldown if you extinguish it, and then they'll be like, you can extinguish teammates? Mind opened. Oh, I can now do stuff. Okay. Rap Assassin. Now 42% more festive. Ornament shatters on all impacts, dealing a small amount of damage in a small radius. Oh, so it's like a little like grenade launcher, like pew. Bleed effect still only applies to target that is struck directly. Ball recharge rate is increased by 25%, damage penalty reduced from 70% to 65%. So instead of it firing like a Sandman and hitting the target and bleeding, I think also at max range it had like a mini crit kind of like damage, but that was like very rarely done. They've made it so it's more like a projectile on like, if you miss, you can kind of hit their floor, hit like underneath them or something, but it won't do like bleed damage directly. So I guess, maybe you can just splash people with them. Maybe if you're fighting pyros, you can like hit the wall next to them. I don't know. This seems interesting. I wonder how big of a change that would be, or if it's just very minor for the people who use Rap Assassin. I'll definitely give it a go though. I like that about these changes. They're making weapons more enticing to use, while there were like other weapons that were just straight up better. Soldier. The Beggar's Bazooka. Decreased blast radius by 20%. I'm just gonna say this first. Fuck you, hearts. That's pretty much all I need to say. But yeah, this Beggar's Bazooka, if you don't know, is a very strong weapon. If you play a lot of pubs, you'll probably only notice that the guy loading a bunch of rockets coming around the corner and then blowing you up. But if you play a lot of competitive, or you play with a bunch of competent soldiers, actually that's kind of rude to say, there's a soldier cam, if you play against a bunch of aggressive soldiers, you can use the misfire to jump into the air, like basically just off yourself. So what you can do is load up 3 rockets, then use the misfire as you would a rocket jump to launch into the air, and then come towards people and then fire 2 rockets while flying, which will sync up both the rockets in the same spot. And essentially, because rockets are dealt there, they do more damage based on how close the soldier is to them. You can basically like one shot drop a medic or an NG. You do like, I'm not sure how much, I guess it's like 200 damage or just under 200 damage for those 2 rockets, but it's just really annoying in like competitive because you can just stack and just blow up everybody with a Beggar's Bazooka, and it's not really that skillful. I mean, it's quite skillful to use the rocket jumps, but if you've played Soldier for any period of time, you can use Beggars and you're like 100% more useful than you are with any other rocket launcher. Except probably Airstrike. Airstrike's probably like Beggars with no real downside. But actually, oh, they address Airstrike later. Okay, I'll go on to that. But yeah, Beggars was a fucking annoying problem. They decreased the blast radius, so it still does a lot of damage, but it means that you can't just spam that shit and get loads of free kills. You have to be really close to them, or you know, you have to like fucking, you can actually dodge it. Contra. Doubled health regeneration rate. Regeneration rate is now decreased if player has recently been damaged. Okay, so it's kind of like the Warmogs in League of Legends where you heal more out of combat, I guess. But Contra has been like a very, very useful thing. It's if you aren't a very rocket jump heavy soldier, or if you just like sitting on a flank and then locking people down, like if you're playing, I guess 5CP was played recently. I mean, I did a game today. Gully Wash, Viaduct is King of the Hill. Basically, if you're playing a flank on Soldier, just run Contra, maybe Black Box. Black Box isn't as good as it used to be, but you could probably run Rocket Launcher with that. Or Beggars. Contra and Rocket Launcher, I guess, is probably the best loadout at the moment. And you get health regeneration, and that's very useful. It was like +2 like per tick, and I think it was like, yeah, it was +2 per second, so I guess it was like one. Yeah. But anyway, you get more. Yeah, you get like +4 when out of combat, which is great. So when you're holding a flank and no one's really like poking you, you can obviously kill them because you'll get more health. But yeah, I could probably see this being bad because Contra is already pretty good. I like to run black box Contra in pubs when I'm just being bored, and I can just sit on like I play Badwater a lot, and when you're pushing last, there's the tires area. I like to just sit on that tires area on defense as black box Contra, and just spam the shit out of it so no one can get in because it's very choky, and I can just regen. So this means that if they keep up the pressure on me, they can kill me. But if they go in, die, then wait, and then go and die again, I can like slowly regen. So I guess it just... I'm trying to think. So basically it just made it so Contra is better, and its general healing makes soldiers better on the flank, so soldier will probably be played more as like a lone wolf class. I mean, it already is, but instead of having like a million snipers on your team, you're probably going to see more soldiers running Contra, because they just need maybe like a small health pack, a small ammo pack nearby, equip the Contra, equip the black box, they got infinite health. I kind of like that, but that might be annoying to deal with in pubs. Base jumper removes hidden property of updraft when on fire. This is where you were set on fire with a base jumper and you would just float in the air. Like, you didn't fall down, you were just stuck in the air unless you like press space to cancel it. This isn't because of some kind of like science where you're on fire and the heat is going up into the parachute and you're like flying up. No, it basically, when you're taking damage, you're being knocked up very slightly, and because you have the base jumper that's making you go down very slightly, I believe it just cancels it out and you just float. So they got rid of that, because what you could do to do that on purpose was use the cow mangler, use the alt fire, set yourself on fire with that, then float around towards the enemy in a straight line with the market gardener and just clothesline people with crits, because that shit's easy. Yeah. Market Gardener added 20% attack speed penalty. Fucking finally. Market Gardener's been a very easy weapon to use. It was basically Extinguisher for Soldier, except you can just fly in out of nowhere while doing it, so you could just come in and gank a medic and kill him. You can still do the full damage, but the 20% firing speed just means that if you miss your initial Market Gardener, you can't just sit on the ground and smack people, or doing the B-hop strat to Market Garden is a bit slower. So I guess it just gives you more room to punish a Market Gardener soldier, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. Market Gardener soldiers probably aren't going to notice it unless they're bad and they miss Market Gardeners, so you shouldn't really worry about it if you're a professional gardener. But to all the people who get fucked up by Market Gardeners just B-hopping everywhere, you actually have a little bit of room to shoot them now. Airstrike. Reduced blast radius by 20% when rocket jumping, 28% reduction compared to stock. Okay, because I think it was already had a reduced blast radius, so this just means that when you do your massive airstrike spam of going base jumper airstrike and just going beep, 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 and shooting them, you have to actually aim on them. You can't just spam and wipe an entire area, you have to actually know what you're clicking on, which is nice. But airstrike's still going to be a monster with good players. Sniper. The Cleaner's Carbine. Reduced firing rate penalty from 35% to 20%. Added the Crikey meter, which is filled by dealing damage. Mini-crits are no longer activated by kill, but can be activated by alt fire when the Crikey meter is filled. Okay, so instead of killing people with the Cleaner's Carbine and getting mini-crits, you can store it, which is pretty nice, and it can fire a little bit faster. I guess that's to make people use Cleaner's Carbine more. I think Cleaner's Carbine was already a pretty good unlock. It was pretty good with Huntsman, like Huntsman, Carbine, Bushwhacker, pretty good synergy. You hit someone with Huntsman, do 120, they're usually on 5 HP if they're a sniper, spy, engineer or scout. So you can hit them with Carbine, get mini-crits, and then run around bushwhacking people for crits. I'm pretty sure people have done that before, but that's just a pretty obvious pub strat. It just means you can store it, which means you can obviously get a kill, store it, wait until you're caught, pop it with alt fire, and then bushwhack at people. It only says popped with alt fire, so I don't know if you have to have it out. So I guess that means that you could have Bushwhacker out, then run towards someone, and they're just like, oh, he's just got a melee, and then right click, and then just swing at the same time, and just immediately pop a crit. If so, that could be kind of annoying, because there's not much, like, conveyance of, like, danger. It would just be, oh, this guy's just got a melee, then you get immediately, like, one shot by, like, 195 damage. So if so, that's going to be OP, and I'm going to call it, and hopefully it gets patched. But otherwise, I think that's kind of a nice change. I mean, you can already Girardi mini crit anyway, so giving Sniper a mini crit secondary seems pretty cool. Cozy Camper. Quadrupled health regeneration rate. Regeneration rate is now decreased if player has been recently damaged. So they did the same thing with Contra. I think Cozy Camper had +1 health per second, while Contra, so it's basically like the same, it's like 4 HP. If not, then it's different, but I'm pretty sure it was 1 HP. I haven't used Cozy Camper that much. Cozy Camper is actually a pretty good unlock to use in pubs because, I mean, besides it not being Razorback, and Razorback being the most overpowered weapon in the game, you can just get shot at and not be jogged, and then shoot them back. So if you've got really good aim, just go Cozy Camper and fuck everyone up, because they can't really stop you, unless they're a spy. Girardi. Extinguish an ally now reduces the cooldown by 20%. So what I did with Mad Milk, that's really nice. I like using Girardi with my Huntsman loadout a lot, so I'm definitely going to be extinguishing teammates more. Not like I already don't, but I guess it will encourage more people to extinguish. I guess now if someone lets me die from a fucking fire and then nearby have a Girardi, I can tell them, hey, you get a cooldown on it as well, so why the fuck didn't you save me? Pyro. Pyro changes. I hope they're actually buffs, because Pyro isn't actually that overpowered that people think. I mean, people who think Pyro's overpowered are generally bad at the game. Banny! Pyros like to collect rainbows. Extinguishing a teammate will now return 20 health. Oh my god, I can heal up as Pyro. Health is like so useful in Pyro. Consecutive air blasts will no longer prevent enemies from air strafing until they touch the ground. Nice! So before, when they fixed ground stalling was a thing where you could air blast someone to a ground and then stop them, which wasn't actually that bad until Reserve Shooter came out, where you could ground stall someone and then mini crit them while they're ground stalled. And their way of patching the ability to stall and stun people on the ground was by adding a stun on the air blast as the default, so you could just constantly stun people. Because before you could, like, when someone air blasts you, you could press S and then A and D and then like sort of air strafe out of the like air blast, which was really useful in Pyro. Really useful in Spy, because a lot of Pyro mains, as I've said, like to air blast and then pull out their secondary. So if you can time it so you get air blast and just as they hit you with a flare you dead ring, you can just fucking surf that shit out of there and just be like, bye, learn to WSM1. But yeah, now they made it so Air Blast doesn't stun, which is great, and I hope that all the scout mains up there love that, because fucking fighting a Pyro with stuns and crit flares was too annoying, because Pyro's already pretty simple. The base flamethrower's damage fall off over distance has been decreased, resulting in higher damage output at range. Okay, let me reread that. Okay, so when you're burning people, you just do more damage at range, I guess. So one thing that's very useful in Pyro is because particles move in the direction that you're moving, you can kind of run backwards and then burn. So if there are two Pyros fighting, one is running backwards and one is running forwards to the other Pyro, the one running backwards would do more damage because more particles are like falling into the Pyro while the other Pyro is struggling to get his particles to catch up. Which is a very kind of technical thing, but I mean, if you've played Pyro, you just notice, and I guess it just goes into your head. Okay, so I wonder if Valve actually fucking went, okay, we have to fix Pyro because Bandy told us, because I guess he's apparently what they do all their, like, fucking tests on. I mean, it'd be kind of sad if they did, because he's only a Sixers player, and no offense to Sixers, but they don't really play with all the classes. Not to say Highlander is like the true TF2, because I'm all for saying that true TF2 is a 24 slot pub where there's like 12 people per team. They can choose whatever they want. There's probably 10 snipers per team. That's how the game should be balanced around. It shouldn't be balanced around sixes. It shouldn't be balanced around Highlander, and it should definitely not be balanced around fours, because fuck that. Yeah, let's look at the degreaser change, because it can only be good. No longer boosts all around switch speed, and says boost switch 2 speed by 60% and switch from by 30%. So that's what they did with reserve shooter. Okay. So when you're burning someone with degreaser and switching to like flare or extinguisher or power jack or whatever, you still switch really fast. But then when you're switching back to the degreaser, it's slower. So I guess that means that people can punish pyros a lot more by heckling. If you don't know what heckling was a tactic that was used before degreaser, where you would punish a pyro for switching to certain weapons. So if you're playing a soldier against a pyro could basically like airblast your rockets, but then you switch to shotgun and then shoot him, and then because of that he'll then switch to shotgun, and then as he's on shotgun you switch back to rocket launcher and then shoot him, so he can't airblast, that kind of thing. So you'd basically just play off what the person's changed to, but when they added degreaser, then that made it a bit more difficult because they can just insta-switch. What you could do as a pyro is you could set someone on fire, shoot them with a shotgun, then switch back and air blast and switch them back, shoot with a shotgun. You could just do that constantly. So they made it so it's slower to switch to the degreaser, which means once someone's done the set on fire, air blast, flare, you can then spam rockets at him because he wouldn't be able to switch back and air blast as quickly. So it gives more of a window for people fighting pyros, which is nice because pyro's not really that fun to play against on pubs. But in competitive he gets crushed. So I just want to tangent a little bit and say that pyro isn't overpowered. Pyro is kind of like engineer in the sense that against people who are not very good at communicating or don't have the game sense, so basically pubs, they're very good because they thrive on the lack of communication and being able to outplay their enemy. But then in environments where there's a lot of communication and people can think about what they're doing, no offense to pubs, but in high competitive environments you can plan and like outplay and outthink the enemy, then pyro gets shut down more, much like engineer. So it's very difficult to balance the pyro, because if you were to nerf him on a pub end, he would become absolutely useless in the higher end, which arguably wouldn't be that bad because really only 10% of the community plays competitive, so we're not really a good priority of balancing. But I don't want pyro to be absolutely bad at the game. I want him to be fun to play and fun to play against, and sadly the way they design pyro is very difficult to do both those things. Okay, remove damage penalty, nice. Increased air blast cost by 25%, ooh, nice. Increased afterburn penalty from 25% to 66%. Huh? Oh, I think that's damage penalty. So just afterburn damage does nothing. So the afterburn is literally there for your combos, like your extinguisher and your flare gun. There's no damage penalty, so basically they've made it so degreaser, instead of being the best weapon for pyro on the primary, it's literally there for combos. Like, if you like using flare gun, if you like using extinguisher, then use degreaser. But now it isn't like the beetle like flamethrower. You can use other flamethrowers without looking like a scrub. I mean, I'm a backburner main when I play pyro, and I really like backburner because there's so many good opportunities you can get crits, and it's not always on potatoes. You can get crits on people who pay attention, much like backstabs, I guess. But I don't know, I just prefer backburner, so it'd be nice if there was a backburner change. Let me see, there isn't. Oh. Okay. Phlogistonator. Oh, I love Phlogistonator. Removed the 10% damage penalty. Ooh. When activating, the taunting pyro gains temporary invulnerability and immunity to knockback effects. Okay. So, okay, that's actually a buff, and I don't know why they buffed Flog, because Flog, in my opinion, was already good. I guess they were like, hey, we're gonna just kick degreaser out of its throne, and then put Flog in that place. So maybe we'll see Flog more. I quite like Flog in lobbies because, as I said, it's a low a low communication environment, so you can kind of just run rampant with Flog. They made it so you can't be backstabbed, because like when you popped Flog, you could basically just heal up and tank everything, but you could still be backstabbed. And a heavy shooting you, if a heavy is shooting you while you're doing your like invincibility stance, he can still kill you. So now you're like fully invincible. And another thing about the immunity to knockback effects was, if a pyro air blast you or some explosives juggled you while you're doing the taunt, it would immediately activate the effects. So you could immediately then start critting people. Because what I like is, when you're using Flog, a lot of the time you have low range. So pyros would just air blast you into a corner and then try to have your team kill you. So what I do is just wait until I'm about to land on the floor to be air blast again, and just hold down right click. So as soon as I touch the ground, I immediately pop, he air blasts, it cancels my thing, and I kill him. So one thing I like to do when I play Flog is, as I'm burning, just constantly hold down right click, so that if I'm about to die burning this guy, I'll be like 1 HP, but I'll get the charge and I'll immediately reset. So that's a strat you can use, just hold down right click whenever you're burning. You'll be immune, but I guess this means that it's all about killing the pyro just as he activates, which gives the pyro more opportunity, because obviously if he's immune to everything, then just place like fucking 5 stickies underneath the pyro, like, oh, he's popped, what are we gonna do? Oh, let's just put all of our stuff, build a sentry next to this pyro, you spin up the heavy, you get the spy ready, but then like even then there's gonna be that split second where the pyro can dish out maybe like a few particles of crits and maybe not kill someone. I mean, it depends how close they are or how low they are, but they can probably kill a low health class if they're like right next to them. So this is maybe an unnecessary buff to Flog, but I don't know, I like it. As I said, pyro is hard to balance being fun to play against and play as. This is definitely a very fun thing to play as, but if you see a Flog pyro from now on, be terrified. Extinguisher! Did they change Extinguisher? Oh, I hope they did. Properties changed. 100% crit chance against burning people, 33% damage penalty, 20% slower attack speed, 75% slower switch to speed. Ooh, so they made it so it isn't backstabs anymore, which is nice. I did like the backstabs because it allowed for very flashy plays, but Extinguisher never really needed to be nerfed. It was another one of those things where people complained about it a lot, so they changed it, and it's not a sense of it being overpowered, because it never was overpowered, but it was just unfun to play against. And at the end of the day, this is a casual video game, so if it's unfun to play against, it should probably be changed. So 100% crit chance against burning targets, so it's back to normal. 33% damage penalty, okay, so it does insert mathematics here. It does about 42 damage? I don't know. I'm not good at mathematics. So about 42, the magic number. That's 42 base damage. So when it crits, 120 something? About 126 damage or something. Which is actually kind of cool, because now Extinguisher crits will one-shot snipers, NGs, spies, whatever, which is kind of what you need, because doing that 200 damage crit to a fucking spy is a bit overkill. So you can kill spies now with Extinguisher crits, which is nice. And you can't one-shot medics, which is also kind of nice, because anything that one-shots medics is pretty gay and needs to be changed. 20% slower attack speed, this just means that you have to get your first hit in, because that's what you're trying to do. You can't just swing wildly when you miss the first time. And 75% slower switch to speed, which is pretty huge, which pretty much means that you should only really use it with Degreaser. You get that 60% switch to speed, so it's still 15% slower than it normally would be, but it's still kind of okay. Like, if you see a pyro going for an Extinguisher kill, there's still a lot of room to call it out or have him like killed in that process, but it doesn't mean Extinguisher's useless. So Extinguisher is back. Extinguisher does just over 125 HP, so if you're a spy, watch out. If you're a sniper, watch out. If you're an NG about gunslinger, watch out. In fact, if you're fucking any class that's just above 125, you're still probably going to die from the afterburn, but Degreaser does a little bit less damage on afterburn, so there's still counterplay. So Extinguisher's back, Pyro is better at close range, but there's counterplay, which is nice. Medic! Oh, I'd have to change Medic. Medic is good. Oh, are they buffs? Ooh. Medic has now slightly higher health regeneration when healing a hurt patient. Ooh, so when you're healing someone who's low, you're going to heal more, which is always good. During setup time, Ubercharge, yeah. I don't even know how you pronounce that. Ubercharge rate is increased by 3 times. So instead of spending the whole like setup building a charge, you're probably going to get that charge, I don't know, in like 20 seconds, 10, 15 seconds, I don't know, kind of quick, which means that there's obviously time for your team to go, hey, we should switch to a different medigun, and the medic can't go, oh, there's no time, they can do it. Which means, oh, if you can build minigun faster in setup, that means that you can fucking suicide the medic for even more ammo. Oh, so in Highlander, everyone suicides. Medic can't go, oh, I need to build. No, fuck that, you can build it faster. You're going to fucking suicide for metal. I need your metal. I don't, but I need it. Okay. Amputator change. Taunt can now be activated by alt fire, which is good, because it makes it more convenient. So you don't have to mash G twice because the taunt menu. Healing done with the taunt now grants small amount of oob charge. That's very good, because before amputator taunt was very risky to do. Like, why would you be doing it when you can just be building Uber and you're in a position where you can just get shot or stabbed or anything? So it gives more reward to the risk, which is nice. Vaccinator, remove 10% health regeneration on proper resist. Huh? Added slight Uber charge build on proper resist. Increased Uber charge rate from 50% to plus 67%. Huh? I'm not understanding this. Reduced overhealed Uber charge build rate penalty from 33% to 66%. As this penalty is applied after the base increase, healing an overhealed patient is now 33% more effective. Huh? Okay, so they just made it so Vaccinator can build faster when you're actually doing your job and doing the proper resists. It would be nice if they changed Vaccinator so you could bind the resists to different keys, so you can go, oh, sniper, quickly switch to bullet instead of scrolling through. It's kind of annoying to like scroll through and remember your place. It does seem like quite a simple thing, but when you're like paying attention to everything else as a medic and trying not to die by everybody else, it can be annoying to just scroll through instead of click. But that's just a small thing. Crusader's crossbow. Healing player of an arrow now grants small amount of oob charge. Nice. I really like crossbow. Crossbow is probably the best primary to use on medic, unless your pocket is shit and you need needles. Otherwise, you should be using crossbow. And it basically just means that when you get those long range heals, you can get Uber charge faster, which is nice, because when I played medic in 6s quite a lot, I was always like complained at for using my crossbows too much, because I wanted to keep my flank healed at all times. But now I can keep building Uber, so fuck you guys. I'm just going to keep using crossbow. I'm going to use crossbow the entire time. That might actually be a fun thing to do, just only crossbow until you have full charge and then pop Uber. Quick fix. Fixed cases where quick fix Uber charge players could still be affected by certain knockback effects. Fixed players no longer capture objectives. Okay, so one try-hard strat for when you're playing 2-4, which I am an avid fan of, is, you know, the usual 5 sentries in the fucking intel room. Just quick fix a scout, run in, pick up that intel and get out, because you're not affected by knockback or slowdown or whatever. So as long as you can out-heal the damage and there aren't like too much burst, you can pretty much just go in, grab it. Or another preference is to go fucking Demo Knight with a quick fix medic, go in, grab, like, oftentimes you're going to get like forced into the center by the sentries, and then like fucking as you pick it up, pop the quick fix and then charge fucking out of there with the medic, and that's pretty good. So it's also an annoying thing in Highlander, because you can pop quick fix when doing a last hold, and say the cart's really close to the end on like upward or bad water or whatever, just have a quick fix medic on blue, just go in and sit on the cart. If they can stop everyone from blocking, they can just heal, like tankle the fucking sentry. They can just walk in without being slowed or juggled or anything and just cap the cart. So that can be kind of a cheesy thing you can do, but not anymore. The Spy. The HUD cloak meter now displays motion and feign when Cloak and Dagger and Deadringer are equipped respectively. Okay, so that's just a nice clarity thing, because I personally play Spy with view models mostly off, so I guess that's a nice way of checking your loadout and being, oh shit, I've got Dead Ringer equipped. But it'd be nice if they made a HUD thing, so when you have your Dead Ringer up, or your cloak up, it like has a little pop-up of maybe like a watch on the HUD or something, like a little pop-up like that, so you know that you've got your like you're cloaked when, or you've got your Dead Ringer up if you've got your view models turned off. That'd be a very nice change, and quite simple to add. Maybe, I don't know how this works, but it's just fucking like little indicator. Seems easy. Dead Ringer, initial damage reduction when feigning death increased to 75% from 50%. That's nice, because when I've been playing Dead Ringer recently, I've been dying so much. Because you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna take this rocket, pop Dead Ringer, come out with like 10 HP, and you're like, what the fuck? So, I agree, I liked the Dead Ringer nerfs before, I still think it's a very good idea. The movement speed is still arguably very, very overpowered, because who the fuck decided to give movement speed on Spy? That's such a bad idea. But yeah, like Dead Ringer was just generally very difficult to use because it didn't do its job. You'd go to feign death and die in the process of feigning death because their damage resist wasn't enough. So hopefully this fixes the problem. Otherwise, I think Dead Ringer is a pretty good weapon to use right now. Why the fuck has it got speed? Spicicle fixed a bug where ammo packs from dead players were not filling the Spicicle meter. That was a thing? What? I didn't know it was meant to do that. I guess I haven't been using Spicicle that much. But shit, you can refill Spicicle with metal? That's pretty fucking strong, because you're going to be getting metal anyway for Cloak. Yeah, Spicicle's like fucking good. And they made it so you don't get the fucking vaccinator fire immunity thing when you're like invisible with the Spicicle, which was a bug. And yeah, so Spicicle's going to be better now. In Highlander, like, Spicicle's a very good knife to use because in EU there's just a lot of gun spies. Gun spy is probably the best way to play Spy because it's consistent, and consistency is better than occasionally doing nothing and occasionally doing something. But so there's no real downside to losing your knife every so often. But if you're going for stabs a lot, Spicicle probably isn't your thing because you can go in for a stab on a medic and lose your knife all of a sudden. I personally want to die in the process of being lit up by a pirate as long as I kill the medic. I don't want to get out with a Spicicle. I want to go in, kill the medic, I die, doesn't matter, I killed the medic. So it's personal preference. I would use Spicicle more if I could actually aim the Ambassador, but I guess I could aim the Ambassador if I played Spy, but I play Engineer too much to be consistent with that, so it's just a preference thing. Spicicle looks really good now. Like, it was good kind of before, but now some of the bugs have been changed. There's still a bunch of bugs with Spy, and I hope they fix those eventually, but Spicicle looks like a very good knife to use now. Heavy! Ooh, heavy changes. Hopefully heavy buffs. Fist of Steel removed deploy time penalty. Okay, so you can pull them out a little bit faster. Added penalty of increased holster time by 100%. Huh? Is that like it takes longer for you to switch away from Fist of Steel? Okay, that kind of makes sense, because you're like holding the Fist of Steel up against your face. You want to use the power of Russian magnets to keep the projectiles from killing you and probably your medic behind you. And it takes a long time to put them away. Okay. So, a little nerf to Fist of Steel, but it means you can pull them out a little bit faster. So when you're low, you can have them out. And if someone's chasing you with the Fist of Steel or meleeing you or whatever, they have more opportunity to kill you. So, a little bit of a nerf. Gloves are running urgently. Increased holster time penalty. So that same thing takes longer to switch away from it, so people can punish you more when you don't have your minigun out. Warrior's Spirit now heals 50 health on kill. Damage received and damage dealt is increased by 30%. Removed health penalty. Okay, so removing health penalty is a pretty big one because Warrior's Spirit was generally like the worst melee to use because you had less health overall and you could just die to snipers easier. So now you get 50 health on kill, which isn't that much. Like, why 50 health on kill? Like, if they gave half Satoichi to heavy, that would be fucking scary. But 50 health on kill is nothing. You're going to take like 200 damage in the time it takes you to do that. Damage received and damage dealt is increased by 30%, so like, what the fuck? You're going to die like so often. You're going to take 1,000,000 damage, and you go, oh, don't worry guys, I got that 50 HP on kill. Removed health penalty. Okay, so Warrior Spirit is still probably the worst melee. If you can find a good way to use this that doesn't involve killing potatoes, or just like generally going, oh, this is good, proceeds to kill a bunch of new players, like, it looks like it's going to be the worst one, but like, prove me wrong in the comments. Like, if this is actually really good, tell me, because I'm kind of interested how this would work out well. Otherwise, I don't know, you can be a big fucking target and die really quickly and distract for the team, but I don't know, I already do that as engineer. Eviction notice. Now provides 15% movement speed bonus, now increases damage taken by 20%. So it's more of that kind of thing where you having your melee out is punished more. You now have more movement speed. I'm not sure exactly how much movement speed that is, let me check. Okay, so Heavy has 77% speed, so giving him that 15% will give him about 93% speed, which is the same speed as Demo Man. So when you have this eviction notice out, you'll run at the speed of Demo Man. So it's kind of like a weaker Gru, but you have more combat like uses for it instead of just being able to run faster. So maybe eviction notice will get some use in Highlander, maybe, probably not, because you take more damage, and that's kind of bad. But you already have the plus sides of getting movement speed on punch, which I think will then stack higher. So I know Buffalo Steak with eviction notice will maybe make you run, I don't know, maybe normal like speed, like at the same speed as like pyros and stuff, probably. And then when you punch them, you run even faster. Because one thing I noticed when I was using eviction notice is if a spy was going near you, you could punch the spy, and then as he was running away, you could catch up with him with the eviction notice while punching him. So I don't know, I think eviction notice while punching giving you movement speed, plus the movement speed it gives you, and Buffalo Steak, could make you run faster than a spy. So that could be kind of fun to do in pubs. Obviously you're going to die a lot quicker because of the 10% damage taken, plus the extra damage taken from the Buffalo Steak. So it's more of a, I'm going to run in and kill them while they're in disarray kind of thing. So basically pyro. I want to use this. This sounds really fun. Eviction notice with Buffalo Steak. I highly recommend doing that. It's going to be pretty great. Demo Man / Demo Knight. What's this, Valve? You're admitting that Demo Knight is the 11th class? I guess it's 11th, because didn't they confirm that Trader was the 10th class? I don't know. I kind of wish Demo Knight was like an additional class. If there was Highlander where you had to play as a Demo Knight with like booties, a shield, and a melee, I don't know. I think I'd play that. Like, it would be really shit in high level because you'd get punished by like range and bullets so hard. But I originally started playing engineer because I like playing roles that people don't like playing and then getting good at them. I mean, it's a good way to play a game. You're always in a team. And I don't know, being a guy with fucking Ty Turner Claymore booties going for picks constantly sounds pretty fun. And on payload, I guess you could just go Targe Pain Train booties and just sit on the cart with the engineer. Scout can roam more. Yeah, that sounds pretty okay. I'd do that. I'd be like the first UGC Platinum Demo Knight. Oh, I guess by default, because I could just join into Platinum straight away and just switch class, but oh, that'd be great. Okay, let's go on to the changes. Shield Bash now deals damage at all ranges, scaled by distance. So this is like the Splendid Screen, where if someone's right next to you, you can just fucking Shield Bash them right off the bat. So that's on a little buff to Demo Knight already, but I guess maybe if you're really close range without the Splendid Screen, it would do more, it'll do less damage. So yeah, it looks like they're making Demo Knight more of a thing, which is nice, because I've been playing Demo Knight more and more on pubs recently, and it is really fun. Like, if you can do the whole like Counter-Strike knife fight kind of thing where you stab, run away, like play it kind of well, you can get away with a lot of shit and it's pretty fun. Melee damage boost after Shield Bash is based on the amount of charge consumed, now provides mini crit at 25% depleted and full crit at 60% depleted. So it just means that it's more it's easier to telegraph like what you're gonna do in terms of damage on the Demo Knight. and when you're fighting against him, you're like, shit, he's charging really far, he's gonna crit me. Or if you're actually close range against a Demo Knight, you can be, okay, he's gonna do less damage to me with a crit, but I'm closer to him, so he's gonna get more hits on me. So you can kind of play it around it more. So I'm not sure how this is going to affect Highlander, if it does. I've seen some people run Targe, Loose Cannon, Scotsman, Skullcutter in like Viaduct and Warmtick and King of the Hill maps, because Loose Cannon is like so OP. And Targe, you can kind of just get away with anything because you've got a bunch of resistances, and Skullcutter, you can like two-shot medics. So maybe we'll see more of that. There's still less of that. Let's read all this other stuff. Charging now removes debuffs from the Demo Knight, like Bleed, Fire, Mad Milk, and Girardi. Ooh, that's pretty good. So I guess the thing of that is, you're covered in milk, you're covered in pee, you're covered in fire, you charge away and it all just like blows off you. It's just like, just shed all that shit while you're like charging away, and that seems kind of cool. But again, if you're fighting Demo Knights, like my loadout, the Tide Turner Zatoichi Booties, where he can just keep resetting, it'll be really hard to kill that person, because you throw Girardi on him like, guys, let's kill him now, he charges, he just immediately resets. So there's going to be even more resets now. So, but they did change the Zatoichi a little bit, but I mean, if you play well, you can get that overheal and shit. So that's going to be a little bit annoying. It means that if you're on fire with the Targe, I think they might have changed the Targe so that you don't have the fire immunity, because obviously you can shed it by charging now. All swords now have a slower deploy and holster speed compared to the base weapons, in addition to their increased melee range. Okay, so they've just generally buffed all swords. Like the Zatoichi is now a sword in terms of giving it melee range, but it means that when you're pulling them out and stuff. So like, I guess this is a buff to Knight in general. By Knight I mean booties, Targe, and a melee, because I mean people call that booty Knight, but it doesn't make sense because he's a Knight. He's no longer a demo, he no longer demolitions things, so he's just a Knight. Like, Demo Knight is grenade launcher, Targe, and fucking a melee. So if he's got full, he's a Knight. Just wanted to say that, okay? So yeah, so if you're running a sword on a Demo Man loadout, then it's going to be slower, because it'll take a long time to like pull out. But if you're just running Knight with only that weapon, there's no real downside, because you're not switching. Splendid Screen removed the ability to deal charge impact damage at any range, now native to all shields. Now increases recharge rate by 50%, increased blast resistance from 15% to 20%. Okay, so it's a little bit better at resisting, and it recharges charge faster, which is nice. I wonder if they might have removed that from the Persian Persuader, because I quite like using Persuader, Booties, and Screen, because you do like the impact, and then left click, and then you do like impact and then crit, and obviously that's changed now, so if I'm close range I'm only going to be doing mini crits, and the impact damage is going to be a bit weaker, so it'll encourage me like engaging from a distance, which obviously gives them room to listen for the and actually shoot me. So it means I can't do the whole walk up to their face, right click, left click, kill them thing anymore, probably, but it seems a general balancing change. So it's less of a gimmick class Demo Knight, instead of being just a I'm going to run around and demolish everybody but then die as soon as I'm focused, into more of a well balanced class. Arguably more balanced than Pyro, but I mean there's not much we can really do about that. Tide Turner now grants mini crit instead of full crit on charge bash, reduced resistances to 15%, so this just means that Tide Turner is easier to focus down when he's doing all these resets, because he has generally less resistances. Charge and Targe. Reduced blast resistance from 40% to 30%, and removed fire immunity. I mean, it's still a pretty good shield, because people were using it instead of sticky when they were playing normal Demo Man, so it just gave you extra resistances. Now it's tuned down, maybe people will still use it as a resistance shield, but maybe they'll just be, it's 30%, let's go back to stickies. Remove the fire immunity, that's pretty obvious because they made it so you can remove fire and all other debuffs by charging. So because of that change of just being able to shed all these status effects, I think Targe will be used more on Demo Man, like running lock and load or loose cannon, just doing damage, because you could just like pull out your melee, charge like 1 inch, and then melee to cancel it, and then just get rid of all your debuffs. So that'd be pretty useful. Claymore. Removed charge duration bonus. Ooh. Now restores 25 health on kill. Removed the health penalty. Now increases damage taken while active by 15%. So it doesn't charge any further. Rest in peace extra range. Which is, I imagine that's going to annoy a lot of Demo Knight players because so many people are used to that range that when they go back to other melees they overcompensate the charge or whatever, and it's just like... So that's going to probably take a while to adapt to. Receiving 25 health on kill, removed... Okay, let me reread this. Okay, I don't really know why you would use Claymore now, because it restores 25 health on kill, but that's worse than the Zatoichi. It no longer has a health penalty. I mean, the only one that has a health penalty is the Islander, because it fucking, like, gives you more health in general, so it's like a reward thing. But... and makes you take more damage while it's out, so why would you use Claymore? Like, you don't charge further, and everything else does worse than other melees. Unless I'm not understanding something, let me go and check the wiki. Okay, I'm looking at the stats. There's the increased charge duration, which no longer exists. No longer has minus 15 max health. No random crits. I mean, it doesn't random crits, so yeah. The only plus side that it has is refilling 25% of your charge meter, which I guess is okay because... Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So Claymore is pretty much bound to the Tide Turner, because Tide Turner has that like 75%, and then, okay. But you already get that 25% like on kill from booties, so if you're running full Knight, there's no point using Claymore. It's like a worse Satoichi. But if you're running Demo Knight with Loose Cannon or Iron Bomber or something, with Tide Turner, then you want to run Claymore for that extra like 25% so you can reset while using grenades. Okay, so that's the only reason why you would use Claymore anymore, is to pair with Tide Turner on Demo Knight. But if you're playing full Knight, there's no sense using it. Persian Persuader. Removed ammo pickups granting health instead of ammo. Added penalties of reduced primary and secondary ammo. Ammo pickups now replenish charge. Now gains charge meter on hit. Okay, so they've made it so Persian Persuader is viable to use on Demo Knight when you're running Loose Cannon, Iron Bomber, that kind of thing. So you don't immediately run out of ammo because all your ammo is being turned to health. But as a downside, you get less overall ammo. But you get charge from picking up ammo as well as getting charge on hit. So Persian Persuader with Tide Turner looks pretty good. Like if you're going to go full Knight, Tide Turner, booties, and Persian Persuader looks like you can charge in, kill someone, and then like get a reset because you kill them. They drop 100 ammo. You then get a bunch of charge back from that, as well as the charge from the hit that you got. So I don't know. Persian Persuader looks like it might be the new reset one. But I guess it's also a thing of you can use it for fighting engineers. I mean, if you fight engineers with melee, because as soon as you kill their dispenser, you can just pick up all your fucking charge back and then run away. I kind of don't like this because, as I said, I use Persian Persuader a lot. I liked having like a lot of health. You didn't get tons of health. You got like 20 HP from a medium ammo pack, but when you like found a small pack and a small ammo pack, it was like 2 small packs. It was kind of nice. So, or maybe it was like 1 small pack and 1/3 of a small pack. But anyway, when you're a knight, you're not using ammo anyway, so it just gave you that extra ability of sustain, and they've changed that in general. So I don't know what to think about this really. I guess I don't really like it, but let's see. It looks like it's going to be really good on resets of the Tide Turner though. Quickie Bomb Launcher. Fizzle time increased from 2 seconds to 4 seconds. That's nice. I quite like the Quickie Bomb Launcher. It's pretty good for like attacking with stickies against a demo heavy team because you can clear traps while you're attacking, and it means that you can place stickies to jump, and you can place stickies to like, I guess, temporarily trap people for more. Like you can't just place stickies and then run away because they're going to fizzle out, but because they're 4 seconds now, it means that you can place stickies like round the corner when someone's coming around the corner and kill them without them fizzling out. Pool Caber, oh I hope it's a buff. Base melee damage increased from 35 to 55. Added 20% fire rate penalty. Added 100% switch 2 time penalty. Okay, so you can't swing the weapon constantly and do more damage. It does a little bit more damage. I can't remember how much damage it did. I think it did like 100 damage or so. So it does maybe 120 damage or something. And you can switch to it really quickly now. Like 100% switch 2 is like faster than degreaser switch 2. So like it's less of a I'm gonna fucking herp kill this guy with a caber, and it's more of a actual last ditch thing, like shit I'm about to die, better kill this dude. Like looking at the damage numbers, it's enough to kill a scout or a spy or an engineer or whatever. So say you're really low health, you hear a spy decloak behind you, and just whip out the caber and smack him and have this kind of action movie kind of thing where you're like, you're not taking me alive, you just fucking hit them with the caber and they're dead. And that's a really bad Scottish accent, but you can basically just fuck up people with the caber. And I like that because I have a strange caber and I really liked using it. So now it's actually kind of viable, because if, like, I like using Scotsman's Skullcolour now because you can two-shot people. And it doesn't look like they've nerfed Scotsman's Skullcolour at all, so that's still going to be a very dominant thing. And I guess if you want to survive a lot and you're getting a lot of heals, you can just use Scotsman's Skullcolour and dispatch people. But if you're playing very Roma-centric, playing like on a pub, like maybe you're going Scottish Resistance and you're like holding an area, then if you get caught like on your own, you can just whip out the caber and kill him, which is kind of nice. I'm definitely going to use caber a little bit more now. Loose cannon. Ooh, I hope it's a nerf. Reduced projectile speed, now a visible attribute. Reduced cannon impact damage from 60 to 50. Damage also scales with distance. Reduced knockback on cannon hit. Knockback strength is now similar to air blast. Okay, so it does less knockback and it does less damage, which is nice. Loose cannon, I say, is OP, but it isn't like a crutch. Like, when people think of OP weapons, they usually think of crutches. A crutch is something that you lean on. It's basically, if you're bad at the game, you lean on this crutch because it plays the game for you. But then if you get better at the game, you don't need it anymore. But loose cannon isn't a crutch. It's kind of the opposite, where if you're bad at the game, you're going to be bad with loose cannon. But if you're good at the game, you're going to be amazing with loose cannon. Like, you can do, like, if you're good at the game, you can use grenade launcher and do a lot of damage, but you can use loose cannon and do a lot of damage. Like, you can fucking double donk people every hit, doing about 140 damage. I guess that's lower, but basically the most annoying thing I had to encounter in Highlander was basically getting one-shot by the loose cannon as an engineer with 125 HP, and anything that one-shots you is pretty bullshit. So hopefully it doesn't one-shot you anymore. If it gives you maybe like 10 HP after being hit, that'll be kind of okay. I just don't want it to one-shot me anymore. That's not very fun to deal with. You argue, oh, but it takes skill to use. No, it doesn't. This game isn't really that skillful when you look at it. Like, it's... there's no real sense arguing, because this argument's going to take years to actually, like, solve. But take a step back, look at other competitive games, maybe like Quake, and then realise that TF2 is not really that skillful. Timing the loose cannon donk isn't that skillful. Doing all these other things are pretty skillful, but that is not as skillful. Like, it doesn't really matter when it comes down to skill, because TF2 is a casual game. At the end of the day, it's just an annoying weapon to deal with, and it's unfun to play against. The knockback was also probably the most unbalanced of it, because you could just throw heavies around, and you don't want to throw heavies around because then they have to unspin and then walk back up and then spin up, and that's just like, you can't fuck with heavies like that. Heavies are already pretty like bad to try and balance, because they're kind of like Pyro and NG, where they fuck up everything else if you fuck them up. So anything that fucks up heavy is a bad thing. So just make it so loose cannon can still be this like relatively skillful high damage thing, but don't make it obtrusively overpowered. And hopefully that's done that. If it hasn't, And finally, the engineer. After removing a sapper from a sentry, there is now a 0.5 second delay before the sentry is active again. Okay, this is going to be... okay, So as a person who plays a lot of engineer, yeah. This is going to be annoying because one of the things that spies can do a lot is just sit next to the sentry and then resap. You can shoot him with your shotgun, but a lot of time you're running Rescue Ranger, which still does okay damage, but like, it's still hard to kill a spy. You won't kill him in 2 shots. And that disabled thing, what they did in the previous update was pretty good, because they made it so if a spy goes into sap, and then the team shoots the sentry when it's sapped, the sentry is basically dead. There's no real point like saving it unless your team is amazing and their team is shit. Like, in a balanced environment, as soon as the sentry's sapped, it's dead. But yeah, now they've made it so it's even easier to kill a sentry. And I know, I'm kind of like a weird perspective on engineer, because I play a lot of engineer in Highlander, I play a fair amount of it in pubs, but I'm also kind of open-minded enough to accept that engineer is a broken and shit class, along with other classes. Like, in the perfect world, engineer doesn't exist, kind of thing. But I play it because someone needs to play it, and I don't know, I kind of like engineer in Highlander in a communicative environment. But yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, was there already much of a problem with sentries? I mean, really the problem with fighting sentries in pubs is not the fact that there are so many sentries, it's the fact that there's so much homewrecker. Like, there hasn't been a single change to homewrecker that I've seen, like, in ages, and that's probably the most overpowered thing about it. But yeah, every engineer I've spoken to about homewrecker thinks it's overpowered, and every spy obviously thinks it's overpowered, and some pyros think it's okay, but pyros are shit at the game anyway. So why don't they just change the homewrecker? Like, why should it be able to break sappers in 1 hit? Like, at least make it so it takes 2 hits to break it. Like, I know that it does more damage to buildings, and sappers classify as buildings, but why should it why should it interact with sappers? That's just not a good thing. Remove it from the Annihilator as well. Just, like, remove sappers destroyed on pyro weapons. Just do that. That's... because whenever you're playing a pub, and there's like 5 engineers defense on Bomb Blitz, I mean, I already know that Bomb Blitz is a shit map. I don't think if you know, like, Valve, that Bomb Blitz is a shit map, but it's a shit map. But when there's all those fucking engineers, there isn't much of a problem with dealing with those engineers, like, unless they're like really good and they're like, okay, there's a sentry, and then we have a wrangler, I'm gonna go short circuit to counter that, and that kind of thing. That generally doesn't happen as much, and if it does, then obviously they're rewarded by the fact that they're smart. But the main problem is the fact that, oh, there's a bunch of engineers, I'll just kill them as demo, oh crap, they've got a pyro, I'm fucked. As soon as the pyro comes into play, they're fucked, because it's like, oh yeah, pyro's gonna be a teamwork class and help out, but it isn't necessarily that pyro is like working as a team and being better, but the fact that pyro is already a pretty much band-aid broken class, that the only way he can be useful is by overpowered gimmicks. Like, as I've already said, Engineer's shit. Engineer's got loads of overpowered gimmicks of himself, but Homewrecker is probably one of the most broken, besides Razorback. So just fucking change Homewrecker, please, Valve. Just fucking remove Sapper's removes. It's just not a fucking good idea for balance. Stop fucking messing with Engineer. Like, I'm kind of okay with you nerfing Engineer if you've got like an extra reason, because Engineer's annoying and unfun to play against, but that's the way you made him. You're like, Engineer slows the game down, we're going to make it a lot easier to deal with Engineer. Then why'd you make a class that slows the game down? Just fucking make Engineer better at something else. Make him a fucking DM class. Make him a shotgun heavy class where he's got 200 HP, has a shotgun, can dispense health to allies nearby him and build teleporters, but can't build sentries. I'd be okay with that if Engineer literally had a mech suit like fucking Iron Man, and he had all these support things built into him, and he was a DM class. He was basically a slow scout with support abilities and no sentries. That would be amazing. Just do that. Don't fucking nerf a sentry and keep it in the game if you don't like the idea of it. Just make up your mind. Sentries brought into respawn room no longer detonate outside man versus machine. That's pretty useful, because there's loads of times where I'm fucking building a fucking sentry at spawn, then I go to step on my teleporter to teleport to the exit, and oh shit, I'm a little bit inside spawn, sentry's dead. Just, there's so many times where I do that. I'm like on a pub and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to build sentry and then move up to the front light. Oh, it's dead. switch class. There's no point. It's just that it was like, I can deal with like 100 spies. I can deal with 100 fucking lock and load demos. But if my sentry blows up on its own from me touching the spawn, that's just, I'm done. Yeah. The Jag. Ooh, this was a long time coming because Jag is, added damage penalty to buildings, now takes 3 hits to destroy a sapper. Nice! It takes 3 hits to destroy a sapper as a wrench, but Homewrecker can still take 1. Just fucking Homewrecker. Okay, this is a long time coming. This is kind of expected. It isn't that bad because Jag already has a 15% faster attack rate, so it's probably going to be maybe 2 seconds to destroy it. But along with the fact that there's also that deactivation of the sentry while being sapped is going to fuck you up, so this is just a nice thing. Basically, I don't think Jag was overpowered. I think it was like the Degreaser on Pyro, where it wasn't overpowered, but it was just the best one that you could have. Like, actually that's pretty bad wording, because that's pretty much means overpowered. What's a good way of saying it? It was not overpowered, but all the other weapons just aren't as... There's no way of describing this without it sounding overpowered, but I guess like an easy way to say it is just like, it's not as strong as something that's straight up OP, but there's no real reason to use anything else because Jag is just slightly a little bit better. I mean, I like to use Eureka Effect and Southern Hospitality a lot. Southern Hospitality is fucking amazing on Highlander because so many times people go, oh, you shouldn't be wrenching a spy, he can trick stab you. No, the only time you get trick stabbed is if you have bad footwork or if he outplays you. You shouldn't have much of a problem just wrenching a spy. Like Rescue Ranger and fucking Southern Hospitality. Land 1 Rescue Ranger bolt and land 1 melee hit, he's fucking dead from the bleed, unless he's got Dead Ringer in, which is predictable anyway. So that should help you out, maybe, if you play Engineer. In fact, if you're watching this video, you probably are, because who else would watch this? Rescue Ranger, Healing Bolt reduced from 75 to 60. I'm pretty sure they did a buff that was 60 to 75, so I guess they're reverting it. But nerfing Rescue Ranger is fine, because Rescue Ranger, fighting against it is annoying, but playing with it is like, oh, I can just repair this with no danger to myself. But yeah, I mean, Engineer changes are kind of okay. Like, you can still get away with doing a lot of shit. It's not like they nerf your ability to rocket jump or be sneaky or be smart. You have all these nerfs against you, but it doesn't nerf your creativity. So if you're a creative engineer, you should be able to destroy a lot of people and have them complaining that engineers OP. Because it isn't, they're just bad. Okay, so I've now finished doing this. I think it took me actually... I think it took me an hour to record this, so I might have to edit some down. I don't think I can edit that much of it down. I guess just cut out the bits so it's all fluid. But I started recording this when I saw the patch notes, and I believe the update has come out now while I was recording, so while you guys are playing with this cool update and probably enjoying the fact that the item server is down, like always, I'm going to be editing this, hopefully have this out preferably the same day, probably not, put it up on Reddit or something like that, and I guess I'll see you next time. I'll probably do a review of what I've actually found from playing with it, and some other cool strats. That eviction notice Buffalo Steak looks really fun, but yeah, this is awkward. Bye.